Good evening and welcome to the reconvening of the Monday, April 6th, 2026, the City of Lake Forest City Council. Since we already did the roll, do we have to do it again, Biddy?
No, we can just note that all members of the city council are present.
Okay, perfect. All members of the City Council are present. What we didn't do is the Pledge of Allegiance. So, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. First item on tonight's agenda is comments by mayor. And the only comment I have is that I grudgingly wish good luck to Michigan tonight. It would be nice to see a Big Ten NCAA champion. So with that, I will pass this on to the city manager, who will not be discussing Michigan.
Mr. Mayor, if we could look to the screen to announce the ward meetings with
Oh, sure.
Ward 2 being on Thursday.
Okay. Very good. Yes, spring ward meetings start this next couple weeks. So what do we have here? We have, first one is Thursday, April 9th, Ward 2, 6:30 p.m. This is at Croya, 400 Hastings Road. The next one would be Ward 4, Monday, April 13th, 6:30 p.m., Dickinson Hall. The next one would be Ward 3, April 14th, again at Croya, 6:30 p.m. And the final would be Ward 1, April 28th, 6:30 p.m. Anything else I missed?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. Good evening. I will not provide comment on an event that may not be happening later, but I have instructed staff to keep it very brief tonight. So I do have several items under my report. First, I've asked our Chief of Police to provide his bi-monthly update to the City Council and to the community on the progress of construction for the city's new police headquarters. And so I'll turn it over to Chief Burke.
Good evening, Mayor Tack, City Council. Just a quick update tonight. Since my last update in February, the building and the renovation is progressing nicely. Inside the building, framing to include door frames, interior walls, other structural elements are moving along. On the exterior, concrete work is ongoing with crews making progress, preparing the foundations for the ramps. On the outside of the building, new entryways in other parts of the addition. We've also hit a few milestones, and I have some slides I can show you here in a minute to show you some photos of the structural steel work that went involved in the installation of the new staircase for the police department to move from the first floor to second floor. The fire pump was replaced last week. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire alarm, and low voltage systems are all being roughed-in throughout both floors in the building, which is a good sign that the trays are moving in coordination. Looking ahead, we have major steps coming with the installation of the precast concrete planks that will form the roof of the range and also the area for the cars to drive across to get in and out of the Sally Port. That will be arriving starting tomorrow. After that, we'll get masonry work to build out the jail cells on the inside and also the Sally Port addition, and then they'll move on to the roof support for the Sally Port. Interior work is continuing. Inspections are coming along nicely, and then as those are cleared, it'll be continuing installation of drywall and then moving on to ceilings, floor, and paint. Got some. This is the second floor stairwell where they had to outline an area to be demolished. So this is the area that was cleared in order to build the steel framing that would complete the outside of the stairway going from first floor to second floor. As you can see here, this steel support will structure the stairs, and they backfilled the concrete floor going around the staircase so we can put those walls back in place. And then this staircase, there's a structural steel, another support here that goes from this floor, the second floor to the first floor, and then through into the basement. So it was a lot of steel work. It took time to coordinate the arrival of the equipment, getting the labor there, and then putting it together correctly. These are ductworks that runs along the back of the new elevator that runs from the basement to the second floor, and other electrical components that run up and down. This is the outside. They had to pump out some water along the ramp that goes down into the evidence port. They did some protection for the black outline to make sure to prepare for the concrete there. They had to pull the water out, and they're prepping that with gravel now. We expect concrete in the coming days. Here's another view where they put in all the sump pump and other drainage things they need to do, and you can see where the gravel was poured in preparation for the concrete coming to the outside of the building. And here's another view of the second floor looking out over the range to give you some size of the scope of the range, the entry door into the range and the entry door into the underground or the sub-level evidence garage. And this is just a picture of them moving the drywall into the building. A lot of it's pouring in right now in preparation for moving through the second floor. We anticipate the second floor being complete by the end of July. So they're moving from the second floor on down. And then, as always, we're posting a lot of videos and updates online. I would encourage any resident or anybody, if they're interested in the progress, the scope of the project, to please check out our videos that are located on the city's website. Happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Questions or comments for the chief? Alderman Powers.
Chief, any surprises as you've gone along based upon kind of the construction plan and the timing that you've experienced?
Little things, rerouting some ductwork and making sure those architectural plans are sound. So coming out of the defensive tactics room into the hallway, they had to reroute a lot of the ductwork, and then we have to get that approved by the architects and engineers to get it stamped for them to progress further out. So just little delays like that. I think with a building that was in place, when you tear stuff down and put walls in a different order, it's a little coordination. They've found a couple things in the ceiling, some fireproofing issues that we're gonna take care of, but nothing major that's gonna blow the timeline up.
Great, thank you.
Other comments or questions? All right, hearing none. Thank you very much. It's
Thank you.
exciting. Can't wait.
Thank you. Next, under my report, included on tonight's omnibus agenda is requested approval for design engineering services for the Enwencia Poplar Storm Sewer Improvement Project. And in anticipation of that project advancing, I've asked Superintendent of Engineering Byron Coots to provide an update to the council community on the scope and timeline of the project, and also to provide a high-level review with the city council about the substantial investments that have been made in stormwater improvements over the last decade. As we actually were just recently discussing, this had been a high priority of the council going back about 10 years ago, and as we continue to work through this list of projects identified, I think it's great to do a look back as well. So happy to turn it over to Byron.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. With the design on the omnibus tonight, we thought it would be a good idea to give a brief background of the project. In addition to what Manager Wisha mentioned, I will also be giving you some information about the IDOT storm sewer project that is in that area. So in order to drain their viaduct on 41, the viaduct that's located between Wesley and 60, they are proposing, they've been working on this for quite a while. They just got out of phase 1, now they're in phase 2. They basically want to add a larger pipe from the viaduct east on Enwencia. So you'll be hearing a lot of mention of that project in coordination with our project going forward. So here are some of the projects we've completed since 2017. So we've really made a lot of progress related to stormwater, storm sewer projects, ravine projects. Really has made a positive impact related to relieving structure flooding like Burr Oak, relieving road flooding that prohibited emergency response during big storms like Ahwahnee did. But even in addition to those big projects, there's a long list of projects that have made a positive impact in different neighborhoods. Looking at the bottom there in bold, you'll see the project that we're talking about tonight, the approval of the design for the Enwencia and Poplar Storm Sewer Project. This was included in the 2020 Storm Sewer Study. It was ranked as a third priority behind Burr Oak and the Ahwahnee project. So now looking at the map on the right, I'll start with the red. The red is our proposed scope based off of the conceptual model from 5 years ago. We still have to kind of further refine that scope, but basically the project is on Poplar from Owensia to Basswood. And then now with the green, if you kind of look at the top of that map there, that is the proposed 48-inch, so that's a big storm sewer, 48-inch storm sewer, basically from 41, there's an easement just north of the house there. They'll take it to a junction manhole, and from that junction manhole, they'll split off to their existing 30-inch, which they installed in the late 80s, with basically that 30-inch does not drain that intersection. So they're proposing to basically have both of those storm sewers. They're going to keep the 30-inch, and they're going to add this 48-inch going all the way to the creek. The reason why I really want to mention it tonight is whenever we build our project, we're looking at routing our stormwater to the north and connecting into that 30-inch storm sewer, the existing one that we maintain. In order to do that, because the whole storm sewers in that area are interconnected, IDOT is basically requiring us to prove that we're not negatively impacting the improvements that they plan on doing. So that's kind of part of the scope of the design tonight. So with the design scope, there's really three components for our project that I'll mention tonight. The first being what I just mentioned, kind of modeling the whole area, specifically the tributary that we're studying where we're having that flooding, and refining our design assumptions and our limits. It may change a little bit from what you see up there. Another component is providing the necessary modeling that I just mentioned for IDOT, so that when they eventually do come to us for a letter of intent, that's how they do projects. We have to sign a letter of intent, which will eventually become an intergovernmental agreement. We want to either have it written in that IGA that they're going to allow us to make this storm sewer connection, or we at least want to know based off of the modeling that when it does come time for us to make that connection, that we have documentation that basically proves that we can connect into that 30-inch and without negatively impacting their storm sewer system. And then, you know, the last component of the design that we're looking for approval tonight is just completing the rest of the design of that project as well, basically all the red going down to Basswood. So those are the three main components. We have split up the design into 2 years for a couple of different reasons. One, for a budget reason, trying to spread that out over a couple years. The other reasoning is because we want to do the modeling first and then just the storm sewer stub. So basically where we're connecting into that, like where the green line is, we want to construct that stub the same year that IDOT is doing their the green line, the storm sewer there, because we only want to impact that intersection one time. So we'll coordinate it where, you know, their contractor, maybe we'll have the same contractor, are working at the same time. We impact the intersection once. And then the following year of construction is when we would do the rest of the upstream. So that's why we phase the design in that way. The modeling in the storm sewer stub the first year, and then the second year being the rest of the storm sewer design. And then I just kind of alluded to this. Construction will be spread out over 2 years for the reasons that I just listed. Because we are trying to tie it to the IDOT project, there's some variability, as you may know, with trying to figure out when they're going to go. They're aggressively saying that they're going to try to bid it out in early 2028. That being said, they have several easements that are going through some properties there that are going to take some time. And as well as just completing the design. We're not sure if they're going to hit that 2028 date. So that's why we're showing construction as either 2028 through 2029 or 2029 to 2030. But the important item is that we want to time our project, kind of coordinate it with theirs. The construction cost of our portion, the red, is about $1.7 million. That's based off of just conceptual design at this point, and we'll refine that over, you know, between May and October and get it ready for the budget submittal then. And then in terms of the RFP process for the design, we followed our standard RFP process. We received 4 proposals from really qualified firms for this work. 3 of those firms have actually worked for IDOT specifically on the earlier studies of this Owensia project. Mackey, who we're recommending tonight, was actually the one that started the phase one. I think they were involved with it for like 10 years because it's gone back that long. So they have a really good understanding of the project, and from a cost perspective, they were the lowest. So they are our recommendation, and with that, I can take any questions.
Any questions for Director Boots? I have a question. This project, is it likely that there will be grant opportunities to reduce the outlay for this?
Yeah, we did start looking at that a year or two ago. So we haven't, well, with storm sewer projects like Burr Oak, and even Awani, we got like the DCEO grants through SMC. So we did get it for Burr Oak. We were in the process of getting it for Awani, but it was taking too long and we had ARPA funds, so we weren't able to use that. But we've kind of identified a different grant that we haven't really looked at for these type of projects. So FEMA has several programs, so we have talked to the Ferguson group on that being a good fit. So we were going to apply last year, and then they had, with some of the federal funding, I think they paused it for a little bit, but that is something that we'll look for going forward. I think the FEMA may be an opportunity.
Super. Any other comments or questions? Very good. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for the alarmist slide there, but a quick public service announcement before I conclude my report, just to the community in light of attempted scams that we've been seeing throughout the entire Chicagoland area. Just reminding the public that the city, the community development department or otherwise will never request payment of fees by wire transfer, send invoices marked urgent, or threaten that approvals will be lost without prompt payments. Municipalities, unfortunately, around the region have been seeing a rise in these scams given the publicly available information around community development property owner petitions. So just a good reminder to the public. If something looks suspicious, please contact city staff to report it before responding or sending any money. And with that, that concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. All right, at this time, there's an opportunity for citizens to address the council on non-agenda items. Is there anyone present that would like to address the council? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to committee reports, of which there are none this evening. The next item is items for omnibus vote consideration, and as always, we'll read the items. If there are any items that the alderman would like removed or taken separately, please let me know upon completion of the reading. There are 10 items this evening. Item 1, approval of Monday, March 16th, 2026 City Council meeting minutes. Item 2, approval of the check register for the period of February 21st through March 27th, 2026. Item 3, approval of a resolution authorizing intervention in property tax assessment appeal 2025-01333 before the Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board. Item 4, approval of a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement pertaining to settlement of the DuPont PFAS class action lawsuit. Item 5, authorization of a contractual agreement for Recreation Department pickleball instruction with Jam Pickleball LLC not to exceed $95,000 for fiscal year 2027. Item 6, approval of a grant agreement between the City of Lake Forest and the Illinois Department of Natural Resources for a grant award in the amount of $600,000 through the Open Space Land Acquisition and Development Program for the South Park Improvement Project Phase 2. Item 7, approval of a recommendation from the Public Works Committee to award a design services agreement to RVI for the South Park Phase 2 project in the amount of $180,600 to include a 10% contingency in the amount of $18,060 for a grand total amount of $198,660. Item 8, approval of a one-year professional services agreement renewal for plan review and city engineering services with Goalt Hamilton Associates in an amount not to exceed $45,000. Item 9, approval of design engineering services for the Onwensia Poplar Storm Sewer Improvements Project to Mackey Consultants, LLC, and authorize city manager to execute an agreement in the amount of $146,000 $1,400 plus 5% contingency in the amount of $7,320 for a total cost of $153,720. Item 10, consideration of ordinances approving recommendations from the Building Review Board for 938 Walden Lane, 1241 Ash Lawn Drive, and 1925 Field Court. First reading and if desired by council, final approval. Are there any items the Alderman would like removed or taken separately? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the omnibus items as presented?
So moved.
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Clemmons,
Aye.
Alderman Notes,
Aye.
Alderman Powers,
Aye.
Alderman Levert,
Aye.
Alderman Bothba,
Aye.
Alderman Weber,
Aye.
Alderman Walther,
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion carries.
Good. The next item is old business, of which there is none this evening, followed by new business, of which there is none this evening. Item 8 is additional items for discussion or comments by council members. Are there any items that the council members would like to discuss this evening? Hearing none, we will move on to item 9, which is a request for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, there's a roll call. No, it's all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you and good evening.